Now it is time to add our third layout. This is the third layout, and that is for the tablet size. So it is between the phone size and the desktop size. And the layout's going to be a little bit different. So in the CSS, we want to set that up as another media rule. Now, location is important. It needs to become before the min width 992. So we want the at media. And this is also going to be only for screen. And now we're going to put the min width at our other breakpoint. And so the min width for this one is 768 pixels. And we're going to have an entire style block for this. Now what this is saying is that as long as the screen doesn't reach this minimum size, it will apply these styles. And it's actually going to go in order, because then when it gets to this breakpoint 992, right, these styles come after, and so they will take over. Once it reaches that minimum width of 992, then these will work. When it drops below 992, then this min width will work, and it will last until it gets to be the minimum width of 768. And as soon as it drops below that, it will apply those base styles that are designed for the phone. So order here is important, and we're going to add these styles right here. Let's go ahead and see where they're going to come into effect. We can find the 992 style block. We have to go to distractions to see it really well. So here's the 992. We'll scroll down a little bit, It's not 92 there. And there, we dropped into we reached this minimum width of 992, and we dropped into that phone style. So now we can make the changes that we want for our tablet and to pull up that layout that we're interested in. So for this layout, we want the header and then the nav, but now the nav is going to be below the header but be horizontal. So let's go ahead and start there. The way it got to be vertical was to set it to be 100% wide, and so we're going to change the width back to the 132 pixels that we have in our desktop version. So we change that width and we refresh, and we're back to a horizontal nav. While we're here, let's go ahead and look at the header. Notice that for the learning one, we're not seeing that extra span, and that's because that display none is left from that mobile style. So now we'll be able to fit it. So let's go ahead and add that rule back in up here. And this is going to be the header, heading 1, and a span inside that. Then we want to put the display back to inline. We save that and refresh, and there we get that back. Now when this gets smaller, remember this will stay into effect until it gets clear down to where it goes into the phone mode. Let's look at the very edge of that. And notice there, it goes on 2 lines, but there's plenty of room. It's not spilling over. So it's just fine at that very edge. And then as it gets bigger, it'll drop over into a single line. All right, now that we've got the nav horizontal, there's a few changes we want to make to it. We want it to span this whole width. And to do that, we're going to simply put color on the whole UL. So instead of just the LI or the A, right now the color is just on the A, we want to put it on the entire UL in the nav. So we'll add the background color to there, and that will have it span the whole distance. And then let's center it. So in the UL, let's put the text align center. And now we've got it in the center. We need to get rid of that border and the gap. To do that, we're going to change settings on the links. So let's go ahead and do the gap first, then we'll be able to visibly see it. And the way that we change the gap is changing that margin. So we're setting the margin on these A links, and we want the top and bottom to be 0 and the left and right to be 2 pixels big. So let's save those. -2 pixels, right? We want to make them go backwards. And there we go. We got rid of the gap, and we can see that really easy with the border. Now we can get rid of the border by setting it to none. And there we've got the nav looking the way we want. Now look at something nice about the transition. So as we transition to the desktop, the nav moves inside the header and the header gets larger. So notice that this block of blue color stays the same size. Watch it as we downsize, that header will get smaller and the nav will go underneath, but the whole block stays exactly the same size. That makes a really smooth transition. If we go then to the phone, notice that the header stays the same size, it's not changing, and the nav just changes its shape. So we see some really nice transitioning for that header and nav section as we move from one size to the next.